So before I begin, I'm going to ask all of you a question. If it would come on. What's the first word that comes to mind when I say Africa?
Poor, people.
Poor, poverty. All of those fit into the trends I've seen. When I've asked this question before, the top 5 answers are AIDS, poverty, children, beauty, and jungle. But why? But before we start answering that question, you'll want to know why I'm asking it in the first place. My name is Kate Murray, and I'm a senior humanistic studies major here at St. Edward's University, and this year I'm completing a thesis project that explores these narratives that sort of lead to these trends in our thought, even though poverty isn't the only thing that makes up the African continent as a whole. So I'll be covering the problem and the need itself, comparisons from my project, my thesis project, to other ones, and then some information on the project itself. And I apologize, but due to time constraints, the questions will have to wait till the end. So, to start out, why is it necessary? The need for this project on our campus is to explore those reasons that our assumptions, stereotypes, or generalizations impact both our personal decisions and interactions as well as those of our policymakers. And that's what we really want to get to the heart of and start a conversation about it. So, to give you a better idea of those trends that I'm talking about, I'll give you the African continent and that sort of question I asked you at the beginning as an in-depth example. People do tend to think of The Lion King. I know someone that actually said that every person in Africa must know the whole script of The Lion King. I'm like, no, they probably actually haven't seen it. Or they think of wildlife or something like that. Or they think of empty facts or statistics that do have a place but that give little context about the reality. Or they think of failed states and danger and disaster. Between 1998 and 2002, stories about famine in Africa tripled despite there actually being an equal increase in the number of famines in the continent. And that's according to a study done by James Sass at Columbia University, who teaches journalism. So obviously these negative things aren't the entirety of the reality of the continent, and I just want to share with you some of the things that I think about when I think about Africa due to my time there studying abroad in Uganda and Rwanda. So I think of creativity and change and innovation and all these other things driving forces. I think of a number of nations that are full of prideful people, and of course I think of the fact that it's way bigger than we can make any short statements about in a few minutes. So, but beyond all else, it's an area that deserves new growth and dialogue. But this isn't just true of the African continent. As many of you are international students yourself, you can probably find your place on the map here. You've probably run into some funny assumptions about where you're from, such as all Argentinians are just like Mexicans, or people really have no idea where Bahrain is. But we want to know why this happens. So everyone around the world has got something to say, but that's usually controlled by the mass media, and they tell you the same story over and over and over again. And when you really examine this, you realize it's imbalanced and doesn't account for the voices of the people that it should be treating equally. And this media saturates everything. When you think about the fact that an average person spends 7.5 hours a day soaking up this media, that can have a big impact, and that's according to a Pew Research study. So how do we fix it? One method that people use to do so is through public art. And according to the Seattle Times, art doesn't just have a social impact, it can have an economic one as well. But to compare my project, that's part of my thesis installation here on campus, I would like to show you 2 other projects that have similar goals, but either failed or succeeded in achieving those. So the first is Art for Change, and that's a project that aimed at vulnerable youth, connecting them to artists, and really, they didn't give you enough information. That's essentially what it was. They didn't tell you where your money was going to go. They had a high goal for what the project seemed to need, and they didn't get you motivated about it. And this was the only picture they provided, and you couldn't really connect it to the project. As for Make Capitalism Work, on the other hand, they got you motivated, gave you detailed information as to exactly where your dollar went, and got you excited about it, gave you rewards for donating. So my project follows many of the same guidelines as Make Capitalism Work, but it is a little bit more beneficial to you in the way that it's a much smaller goal, so there's much less you need to donate, and beyond all else, it's local, and you get to see the benefits firsthand, so you get to be here on campus and see the product that you donated to. So what are those results going to be? As for the installation itself, it's going to be a project here on campus, and I'm about to hand pass back to you something that describes a little sketch of the project, since I won't be able to cover every detail, but if you have other questions, let me know at the end. Essentially, the project represents the ways in which our individual perspectives can reflect those sort of assumptions and generalizations that the media tells us. In the center will be a plexiglass room or box. It'll be kind of like this back window over here in the back corner, but on all four sides. And on each inner wall, there will be a question like the one I posed to you at the beginning. And as people read that question, they get to contribute their answers with a marker, writing on the inner walls and covering those walls with our thoughts and assumptions. But projectors will be projecting outside onto outer fabric that counter those traditional narratives, something more positive about that region or that place, and draw your eyes out. But the more and more our values cover up our view of that, you'll see that it gets pretty clouded when we have these assumptions about that place without actually traveling there. So in the first 2 days, I raised $490, and now I need your help to get the last 110. So that means it's $7 a person for each one of you in here, or around there. And attached to your installation information is, I set the clicker over here, is an envelope in which you can put your contributions in. And this project will only happen if it's funded. So I just want to share with you one last quote to really get to the essence of this project. Nigerian author Adichie once said, "The consequence of a single story is this: it robs people of dignity. It makes recognition of our equal humanity difficult. It emphasizes how we are different than how we are similar." So to recap the benefits of this project, it's bringing that voice back to the people. It's recognizing the balance and getting rid of those divisions and really doing it here on campus in a local sense. So now's the time. I'm asking each of you to donate $7 and get a chance to tell your own story. And I thank you ahead of time for all the difference you're going to make here on campus in bringing people closer together. So I'll be at the door at the end of this presentation. Are there any questions?